All right. A very good evening, everyone. I hope everybody is doing fine. I would want to welcome you to yet another very interesting episode of Big Bull Ki Pathshala. Like every time, this time also we have a very special guest with us. But before I introduce him over, let's just talk a little bit about what is happening around. So, budget came out day before yesterday. I hope all of you have updated yourself about the key points to the same. It is going to play a very important role in your current affairs, in your current GK. So please make sure that you're making pointers of it, that you have updated yourself with the same. For the people who have their board exams going on, all the very best. I hope you're doing well. I hope the exams are going really well. Apart from that, the entrances for various courses, that is art management, would be opening really soon. The notifications will start coming from February itself. We at Hitbullseye will make it a point that we update you about the same. So stay tuned. Now let's talk about our today's session. Our today's session is again a very special session, something that is going to be extremely enlightening, extremely useful for the real aspirants out there. So, like the name suggests, our today's session is on IPM. We are going to talk about yet another success story of a student, of an aspirant who made it to IIM Rohtak by appearing for the IPMAT exam. This session will help you get an understanding of what an IPM is, what are the various entrances for it, how do you prepare for it, what is the schedule of a person or an aspirant who's appearing or preparing for such exams, what are the major do's and don'ts that you should keep in mind when you are going ahead with your preparation, and of course, how you can strike a balance between these different entrances for management, or for that matter, even for law. However, the law entrances for this year are already done, but the people who might be, targeting the 24 one, for them as well. So, without any further ado, allow me to introduce our guest for the evening, Mr. Arpit. He cracked his IPMAT exam and he made his way to IIM Rohtak. He scored really well in his 12th standard as well. That means he is good at striking balance between entrances and boards. And he has agreed to talk to us today to share his life story, to share his success story, and of course to give you people tips and tricks that you can keep in mind when you are going through preparation. So allow me to introduce Arpit. Hi Arpit.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Arpit. How are you?
Very good, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. So where are you speaking from right now?
Oh, I am currently at my home in Mandi Govindad. So that's where I'm
All
talking
right.
from.
So how's the weather at Mandi?
Oh, it's all right, after winters. The
Right,
winters are slowly fading away. And
right.
yeah,
So the
climate's very nice.
climate will be moderate, not too cold, not too
Mm,
hot, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So let's begin by telling our audience who Arpit is. So Arpit, why don't you give your brief introduction to the audience?
So my name is Arpit Garg and I am from Mandi Govindad, often called as the Steel City of Asia.
Right.
So we boast of the most number of iron and steel factories you will find anywhere.
Mhm.
And from my childhood, I had interest in management because I have seen my father go into business and managing everything there. So I
Mhm.
have, my interest has really been into management since the childhood. So it
Right,
was very clear to me that the commerce is right for me, and
right,
hence I opted for the same.
right, right.
Yes, I scored 96% in class 10th and 96% again in plus 2 class commerce stream.
That's consistency. Nice, nice, great. Okay, so Arpit, who all are there in your family? Please tell us a little bit about your family background.
So basically, I live in a nuclear family. I have my father, my mother, and my younger brother.
Okay,
My father's a businessman. As I
right.
told you,
Yeah.
we also have a iron and steel factory running in the city itself. My mother's a housemaker, and my younger brother is still a newbie.
How young is he to you?
He's 7 years.
Oh,
Yes, we are quite the area. Yes.
yeah, it's a huge difference.
Hmm.
So he must be in school right now, right? Which class?
Yes, ma'am. He's in fifth class.
Fifth class. Okay. So what kind of a bond do you have with your brother? Like, do you people like fight all the time, or are you a caring brother, or is it a mixture? How does it work?
No, sir. The fighting is always there between the brothers. But
Right.
yes, there's love too. We absolutely adore each other. We care for each other, and we are always there for one another.
Right. And
That's
that,
the spirit.
yeah, sibling rivalries are always there, right?
Yes,
No matter
that's
how,
the sense.
yeah, no matter कितना भी gap हो वो रहता ही है. Right. So, where did you do your schooling from? Arpit?
So initially, I went to the Gurukul Kurukshetra for my class 10th. I did my class 10th from there. It's a boys boarding school, and
Mm-hmm.
it was in top 10 boys boarding school in all over India.
Nice.
So that's and due to lockdown, I had to come back from my hostel, and so I did my class plus two from Om Prakash Bansal Modern School, Mandi Govindpur.
So, how was your experience studying in a all boys school?
You know, ma'am, what's like in a boys hostel school. I don't have much experience with the girls. But yeah, the later 2 years of my plus one and plus two class. So yes,
You gained
yes,
experience.
I got some experience. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's good. That's great. So, what was your stream in 12th standard? Okay.
I opted for commerce, ma'am, as I already told you, because I had keen interest in management,
Mm-hmm.
and my initial goal was to do CA, but
Mm-hmm.
I deviated from that path and chose management.
Right. That's really great. I'm happy to see that you had a clarity from a very beginning in your life what you wanted to do, because I've seen a lot of students, a lot of people don't really have a clarity as to where
Yes,
they
ma'am.
want to pursue their career in. They come ahead and they have career counseling just to decide what they want to do. And at times they do, certain students do make wrong decisions and then they switch their streams or later in their life. But I feel the choice that you make in your 11th and 12th class is very, very
Hmm.
important because it
Yes, ma'am.
actually tones your further life ahead, right?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, many juniors ask me that what stream should I opt, that you should suggest me. And I
Mm-hmm.
always tell them that you should do what you want to do, not what others say you or what your parents tell you to do. That's
Right.
the thing,
That's
because that will go on with your whole life. That's the thing.
absolutely true because if somebody is suggesting you कि हाँ ये भी कर लो हाँ this is better,
Hmm.
if you do not have an interest in it, you will not be successful in it. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have seen abhi jo aane wali generations that they're very, not very orthodox kind of
Hmm.
view towards or vision towards the future. They want to be very different things that earlier were not that popular,
Yes,
being
ma'am.
like being a photographer or being a
Hmm.
blogger, or and they're earning pretty well. It's
Hmm.
not like they're not able to make a good life out of it. It actually has
Hmm.
to be your interest. That's very, very important.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad that you had that clarity right from the beginning, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, what was your goal in 12th class? Like when you were in your 12th standard, of course, you were in the commerce stream. So at that time, did you already know that, okay, I'm going to appear for these entrances, I'm going to clear it, and then this is how, like, was it all planned out for you?
No, actually, I did fill up the all entrance exams for management beforehand, but my actual goal was to do CA. I even started preparing for CA. I even went for CA to do internships, and
Mm-hmm.
I had practical knowledge as well.
Right.
But when the results of IPMAT came out, I thought that CA is not certain that I'll clear it or not, and my 5 years will get wasted.
Mm-hmm.
So management is always a better option, and I've been into it. I know what it's like. So
Were
I
you
thought
able
that
to were you able to qualify for the CPT exam? That's the entrance for
no,
CA.
it didn't appear because the results were already out. I was preparing. I was working with the CA.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Right. So CA is apparently a very difficult thing to do. That's what I have heard. It takes 5, 7 years of your life. But then I feel
Nothing is difficult, ma'am. If
it's
one is
all in mind.
dedicated, that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I remember when I was really young, I had a very keen interest in science, right? So I wanted to go ahead and pursue, to be a doctor or to pursue medical in my 11th and 12th class. So the people that I used to have, my classmates or other people in general that I used to have a conversation with, they were in of discipline care and medical बहुत मुश्किल होता है, you have to study
Hmm.
so much biology होता है कि so एक वो वैसा सेटअप हो जाता है दिमाग में कि अरे नहीं तो मुश्किल ही है, this is something I cannot do. So
Hmm.
the kind of guidance that you get, the people that you're interacting with, the people that you're talking with is very, very important. That gives you
Hmm.
an idea as to how you can go ahead with your career or what do you want to do further, right?
Yes, ma'am. Of course, that's the case.
Yeah. So, what all exams did you appear for after 12?
So I appeared for IPMAT Rohtak, IPMAT Indore, and SET, that is the Symbiosis entrance exam.
Which is entrance test. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
And did you not appear for other entrances like we have NPAT, which is for Massey Munshi, we have
Hmm.
CMAT, that is for Delhi University. Why not these exams?
Ma'am, actually, I was quite sure that the preparation I have, and I had confidence in myself that I'll clear these exams. And I don't think that if not for IIMs, I would have been into CA, and even I have family business, so I could always go into that.
Mm-hmm.
So private schooling was never the choice
Okay.
because I had better options.
Right, right, right. So you set your target on just one thing and you wanted to go ahead and do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, right. So
Yes.
because I have seen people who go ahead and appear for multiple exams, like I told you, they have CVT, they have so many other entrances for different institutes, and the advantage that you have there is the syllabus pretty much is similar for all of these, whether preparing for
Yes, ma'am.
preparing for NPAT. CVT is pretty much similar to what you're studying in the boards. In
Hmm.
that's pretty much the same. You've appeared for IPMAT. That's great. That's great. So, what was your preparation strategy? Like, how did you go ahead? Like, what was your mindset when you started a VP? अच्छा ठीक है अब मैं IPMAT की तैयारी करूँगा. Or what was the strategy that you implemented from there?
So first I decided that now it's the time that I have to start preparing because now the exams are coming.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 months prior the exams, I made up a schedule that I'll do one exercise from verbal, I'll do one exercise from quant, I'll do one exercise from reasoning,
Mm-hmm.
and in 2 months due period, I'll cover all the topics and I'll be proficient in all of these.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my strategy. I used to do exercise every day,
Mm-hmm.
not skip a day, and that that really proved to be fruitful.
All right. So for all the people out there who still do not have an idea about IPM, what an IPM is, let me give you a quick brief about it. So IPM stands for Integrated Program in Management. That is a 5-year integrated course, that is BBA plus MBA, which is offered to you by very limited schools. That includes 5 IIMs, that is Ranchi, Rohtak, Bodh Gaya, Jammu, and Indore. These are the 5 IIMs that do consider that do provide you with the IPM course. Okay, and for to get admissions into this IPM course, you have two different entrance tests. First is called IPMAT. Second is called JIPMAT. So IPMAT is conducted separately by Indore, that is IIM Indore, and separately by IIM Rohtak. So they both have their own exam pattern and they both have their own entrances. But the major difference between the exam conducted by IIM Indore and IIM Rohtak is that you do not have any logical reasoning in the exam conducted by Indore. You just have two sections on quant. One is subjective and the other one is MCQ. And whereas for Rohtak, you do get logical reasoning, you do get English, you do get maths. The same pattern is there for JIPMAT as well. JIPMAT you get to get admissions into Jammu and Bodh Gaya, and the other 3 IIMs can get admission through the IPMAT exam. So that's pretty much the background. He here has appeared for, Arpit here has appeared for IPMAT Rohtak and IPMAT Indore. That's pretty much what we're talking. So we have 3 sections, like I mentioned to you. All of these 3 sections have negative marking. However, if you're appearing for IPMAT Indore, the one conducted by IIM Indore, you do not have any negative marking in the subjective type of questions. There is no negative marking in that. It's just a section that is being given to you. Another thing that you should note about these exams is that you get higher marks. Higher marks means the marks that you study in your 11th and 12th class that appears in your IPMAT exam. However, if in case you're appearing for CAT, that is not very much the option. You do not have higher marks in that. You have marks in chemistry. So that's pretty much the background. So we have established that we have 3 domains, we have 3 sections. So let's discuss these sections one by one because that is something I feel most of the students face a problem in, right? So let's begin with something that you don't actually study in a 12th class. If I talk about English, if I talk about maths, you have touched some of these topics, some of these sections in your 11th and 12th class, maybe for your schooling. Logical reasoning, however, is something which is very new, very different, and until unless you appear for the Olympiads, I think you might not have a lot of preference about it. So let's begin with logical reasoning. Arpit, so how did you prepare for logical reasoning?
Ma'am, I have been practicing logical reasoning quite the time before I knew that I would appear for IPMAT.
Mm-hmm.
Logical reasoning has always enticed me, so I would buy books, I would solve the questions for logical reasoning. So I had a pretty strong base when I started preparing for logical reasoning. I personally didn't have to devote much time to that. But
Mm-hmm.
for a newbie, it's really important to devote time for it because logical reasoning is an integral part of IPMAT Rohtak,
That's
and you
true.
need to for you to need the clear the cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a strong grip of logical reasoning.
Right. So even I have come across students who tend to find logical reasoning very interesting because it's more of a puzzle or a game like that, like you're coding, decoding, wherein you're supposed to figure out a pattern or something similar way of blood relations and topics like these. So certain people tend to find it very interesting and they have
Mhm.
fun while solving it until unless like there are very difficult level of questions as well. So, all right. Now, talking about something that I extremely hate, that I am not very good at, that's maths, like
Yes,
quants.
ma'am.
So how did you prepare for the quant section?
So, ma'am, I bought a number of books, and even the books provided by Bullseye itself, they were quite helpful in teaching me maths. And the teachers here at Bullseye were quite, mom, they uh, cleared my doubts every time I asked them. So, maths was it was somehow difficult. I agree with you, but some dedication, some extra time for maths, it does the work.
See, with me, what used to happen is I'll give a very frank example. So even I had commerce in my 11th and 12th class. So in commerce, you have this particular subject which should not be there, but then the same is a very integral part of commerce. That's accounts. I
Yes,
mean, you
ma'am.
have those balance sheets and accounts. I swear to God, I could never match those balance sheets. वो कभी balance होता ही नहीं था मेरा.
I get that
Uh,
feeling, ma'am.
so even so I did not have maths in my 11th and 12th. I was like, हो गया बस 10th standard तक मैंने खींच लिया बहुत. I don't want to go ahead and do. So of course, quant can be very difficult, and especially when you are preparing for competitive exams, there is a difference, right? There is a difference for when you're preparing for boards. Uska maths mein and the maths that you have in competitive exam is very different because a you have time limitation or time bound.
Mm.
You're supposed to complete the entire session within a stipulated amount of time period, so your
Yes, ma'am.
calculations have to be very quick. So of course there are certain tips, there are certain tricks that you can learn, that you can practice every day
Yes, ma'am.
to make your calculations faster. We also at Hitbullseye we tell our students to do mental calculations, right? Randomly if you're traveling somewhere, try to calculate certain or add something or multiply something in your mind because at the end of the day, when it is your D day, when it is your exam day, you will have to make multiple mind calculation because you cannot sit with a notebook and a pen and dividing and subtracting and multiplying. It has to be a bit mental, right? At the same time, you should be very sharp with the square roots, cube roots,
Mm.
the time, the tables, and all of these aspects are very, very important. So, of course, math can be tricky, but like he said, if you have the right guidance, if you have most important the right material, the study material that you're referring to is extremely, extremely important. So, this
Yes,
can
ma'am.
be made easier. Chalo, now let's move to the section that is my favorite section, has always been my love throughout my life is English, right? So, how did you prepare for verbal English?
Personally, ma'am, I'm a Punjabi, and you know how English is with the Punjabis. I
Right.
sucked at English, and that was my real problem. I was really tensed about what would happen in English. What if I'm not able to answer a
Mhm.
vocabulary question, or what if I'm not able to do subject verb agreement and all. So I practiced real hard on English. I bought various books. I bought Ren and Martin and read all of it. I used to memorize the dictionary. So if I can remember any word during the exam,
Right. But it's
that
not
was difficult. Yes.
it's not easy to memorize. I mean, the problem that majority of the students face English में is vocabulary because
Yes, ma'am.
like let's face it, English is not a first language. It is taught
Mhm.
to us. हमें पढ़ाया जाता है नर्सरी से लेकर 10th तक तो कंपल्सरी होता है इंग्लिश सीखना. So if like my first language, my mother tongue is Hindi. I do not know any other regional language. I only know Hindi. तो हिंदी में भी at times I don't know all the words in हिंदी itself जो मैं बचपन से बोली. So imagine English के सारे vocabulary words याद करना. So of course it
Yes,
is
ma'am.
difficult and I have found this. I don't want to be gender biased, but मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि लड़कों को इंग्लिश वैसे भी अच्छी नहीं लगती है. They're not very far
Yes,
from it.
ma'am.
I've
That's
never
the thing.
I have never in my life come across a single guy जिसको जो बोले कि हाँ मुझे पढ़ना पसंद है या I like reading or I like reading ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ है. So
हम tend to say हम तो देसी है हमें क्या
हाँ
जरूरत है इंग्लिश बोलने की.
हाँ कि मतलब और आधों का ऐसा होता है कि फील क्या है हमसे बेटर इंग्लिश तो कुछ बोल ही नहीं सकता वी आर द बेस्ट एट इंग्लिश डोंट नीड टू प्रिपेयर फॉर इट ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट वंस right so English can of course be a very challenging unless you do have a genuine interest in it and unless you're somebody who's fond of reading who likes to explore new things or जो डब करके मूवीज नहीं देखते हैं डायरेक्ट देखते हैं उन लोगों के लिए
Yes, ma'am.
it is easier they can memorize words they can speak up and they can go ahead with it right so for the people जो problem है जिन्हें English में guys my suggestion to you would be to read as much content as possible and then it's a very बहुत common आपको क्या बोलते हैं suggestion है जो हर कोई देता है but that's actually the way it is going to be because you need to understand English is a practical subject. It is not math कि जिसका आपने formula रटा लगा and you're able to solve certain questions because it is a practical subject. You need to practice speaking it. And the major problem that I feel students have is that उनको कोई मिलता ही नहीं English में बात करने वाला. Like if you're talking
Yes,
to
ma'am.
your friends, they're like, "What are you doing? Why are you speaking in English?" That's the major problem, right? So because you're not able to communicate, because you're not able to speak with people in English, that is why you always have that hesitance कि अरे मैं इंग्लिश में बात करूँ कितनी बड़ी बात है that is
Yes, ma'am.
so you should read as much content as possible and try not reading just the fictional parts सिर्फ novels या books मत पढ़िए try to read non-fiction magazines articles or any random book ताकि आपको different sections के बारे में information मिल सकती हो it will also help you boost your GK. So I think that is something, and also the reason why you're asked to read a lot of content is not कि आपकी reading practice बढ़े या आपकी English दोस्ती हो जाए nothing like that. It will help you translate those English words into Hindi your mother tongue very quickly. So what happens is whenever we are reading in English or whenever we're trying to speak in English, we tend to think in the language that we're comfortable in, that is a respective podcast. उसको ट्रांसलेट करने में some people have larger duration उनको ज्यादा टाइम लगता है उसको ट्रांसलेट करने में इसलिए they're not very fluent with the language but certain people they can do it very quickly so इसलिए they're very fluent with the language so that is how it happens so try to read as much as you can and read good content read non-fiction content so that you're boosting your GK at the same time right anything else that you want to add apart from what I have said.
Yes, ma'am. Reading editorials can be quite helpful. If we read variety of contents, then it specifically helps in RCs because RCs can be all over the topics, different topics. And if you have even some knowledge of every topic, then you will be able to answer that questions and you will be able to comprehend what the RC wants to convey.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I feel major problem that people have is with the RCs only. Because
Yes, ma'am, because it's detailed.
yeah, certain RCs are very difficult. Like I remember when I used to solve RCs in my wherever I had certain exams. So अगर वो RC का topic मेरे interest का नहीं है, it will be very difficult for me to solve it. Like for example, I'm a person who's not very interested in physics or topics like that. So by chance I've gotten an RC with that topic, it will be very difficult for me to decode because I don't have a genuine interest in the topic. That is why when you're reading non-fiction things, जब आप जनरल चीजें पढ़ रहे हो तो you genuinely develop interest in different aspects. That will help you a lot. Solving RCs and also boost your vocabulary. That's again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now that we have spoken about all the three sections that we have, I would want to know, Arpit, which was your favorite section and which was the section? I mean, I've pretty much guessed. I think the
Yes,
you
ma'am.
loved reasoning and you must have hated English if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes, ma'am. You are absolutely correct.
And that's what I made out from the conversation. And that I think pretty much is similar with everyone. सबका यही रहता है.
For some, I have seen they love English because they have been familiarized with it. For some, the English is the language in their family. Their parents speak English, so they're quite easy with it. So the environment matters.
That's absolutely true. But I don't think that lot of people do get that environment. Like if we're talking
That's
about
the
somebody
case.
from a middle class family or from a lower middle class family, it's not a very common thing. Like if I can give you my example only. So because I have done my studies, I've done my education from a convent school, and because I had a rigorous interest in English, that is why I am that fluent in English. So of course your study or education background does matter, but it is not the sole reason or the sole factor of deciding whether you're good at English or not. And at the same time, I also feel that you should be very practical about the subject. आप English पढ़ रहे हो तो आप एक exam qualify करना है. उसको उसी perspective से देखो. आपको अंग्रेज नहीं बनना है, you're going to learn
Yes,
those
ma'am.
words for life. So just like you do with maths, आप formulas याद करते थे, आपको पेपर क्रैक करना है, similar way English also should be like that. क्योंकि मेरे को करना है, पढ़ना सिर्फ पेपर क्वालिफाई करें, then I can go ahead and speak Punjabi, Marathi, Rajasthani, whatever language I want to speak, right?
Yes.
So these three sections we are talking about. Now I would want to know how were you able to strike a balance between your preparation for boards and your preparation for IPMAT?
So initially, my primary focus was on boards, that I'll prepare for the boards, I'd get good marks, and then I'll get admission in some good college from DU. But when I got to know that there's CUET, there's a separate entrance exam, and the marks for plus two don't matter that much,
Right.
so my that focus shifted on IPMAT, and I started preparing for it.
Okay.
And
So a
that's sort of
disclaimer here, guys. A disclaimer here. Of course, your 12th standard scores are important. I mean, you need to take them seriously because every institute, for example, if I talk about JIPMAT, if I talk about IIM both there, they have certain cutoffs. The minimum eligibility that you need to have at least 60% in your boards to get admissions. If I talk about CUET may also your like if let's say कि दो बच्चों के same score आया CUET में, so your tiebreaker will be जिस बच्चे के boards में ज़्यादा exam आया. So yes, exam and marks आए. I'm sorry. So yes, boards are very important. So you need to think about it that way. Of course, this would vary from person to person. For example, here for Arpit, he was very clear कि मुझे ये करना, so he could not, he could very easily not pay that much attention to boards. But if you're somebody who is appearing for multiple exams, you cannot take your boards for granted, right, Arpit?
yes, ma'am.
Right. So that's great. So now tell me, uh, now when you started preparing for IPMAT, आपने सोचा कि ठीक है. So how did you strike to a decision? First of all, मुझे बताइए कि आपने IPMAT की तैयारी कैसे करी? Did you study on your own? Did you do self study or did you take coaching from somewhere?
Actually, first I didn't even know that an exam called IPMAT exists. So I
Right.
came to know about it from my cousin,
Okay.
who is in the same class as me. He's
Okay.
now we are of the same age. So he was preparing for it. I asked him randomly, so what's IPMAT? What's its use? So I came to know that you can directly do undergraduation from an IIM. So that's the thing, I should also try it. So I searched for good coaching institutions, and I got admission in Hitbullseye. So
Okay.
I prepared from that. There are good teachers and good mentors,
All right.
and my journey started.
Okay. So I'll be modest here and not talk about Hitbullseye, right? So one thing that I want to add here, and I think the people should know about, is let's talk about the integrated program, Rohtak integrated program. इसका मतलब ये है कि आप अपना BBA और MBA सेम IIM से continue करोगे. Otherwise क्या होता है, अगर आपने कहीं और ग्रेजुएशन में एडमिशन लिया तो आपको मास्टर्स करने के लिए you have to qualify other entrance tests at PG level. For example, you have CAT, you have ZAT, you have IIFT, TISMET, and all of these exams. You need to appear for that. पर अगर आपका इंटीग्रेटेड प्रोग्राम में एडमिशन हो गया है, इट आप 5 साल के लिए उधर से ही अपना ग्रेजुएशन और पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन BBA और MBA वहीं से ही करोगे. But you need to understand, let's say that you have got an admission to IIM Indore, which is a good IIM, reputed and old IIM, right? But it is not a necessary thing or a guarantee thing कि हाँ जी आपका मास्टर्स भी वहीं से ही होगा just because you're
Yes.
qualified for the exam, right? You need to, I think there's certain CGPA that you need to maintain.
Yes, ma'am. I already discussed that. So there's the case that it's not necessary that you have to surely do MBA. You can opt yourself out after BBA. They'll award you with a BBA degree for IIM Rohtak and a BA degree for IIM Indore. And but there are also certain eligibility criteria, so the college will not allow you. If you score a CGPA of less than 5 over the 3 years, then they'll award you a BBA degree and they'll kick you out. That you can't do MBA.
That's absolutely correct. So I think for Indore it is 6 CGPA and for Rohtak it is 5 CGPA that you need to
Yes,
maintain
ma'am.
for the first 3 years of your graduation. अगर आप उसको मेंटेन नहीं कर पा रहे तो वो आपको ग्रेजुएशन की डिग्री देंगे और फिर बोलेंगे टाटा बाय बाय, मास्टर्स कहीं और से करो. ठीक है, but in case you're able to maintain that CGPA, you're most welcome. You can pursue your MBA from the same institute also. Now, another very important thing that I've come across is, I mean, of course, there are different types of IIMs. For example, you have old IIMs, you have new IIMs, you have baby IIMs, right? So of course the reputation and the placements that you would get in an old IIM would be better. ऐसा नहीं है कि new IIMs के baby IIMs की placements अच्छी नहीं है, but because they're more reputed. For example, बैंगलोर हो गया, ओके, अहमदाबाद हो गया, लखनऊ हो गया, इंदौर हो गया, वेरी रिप्यूटेड. सो
Yes,
लेट्स
ma'am.
आप को ग्रेजुएशन में यू आर एबल टू क्वालिफाई जिपमैट और आपको एडमिशन मिला IIM बोध गया में, व्हिच इज अ बेबी IIM. सो ओके, ठीक है, यू डिड योर ग्रेजुएशन फ्रॉम देयर, पर आप चाह रहे हो कि नहीं, आई वांट टू डू माय MBA फ्रॉम अ much more reputed IIM because I am focusing on placement. मुझे अच्छी कंपनी में I want to go. So in that case, what you can do is you can withdraw yourself from the integrated program after 3 years और आप फिर CAT की तैयारी करो, and if you're scoring well, अगर आपका सब कुछ clear हो जाए तो you can switch your IIM that way also, right Arpit?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely right.
How it works. You want to say something?
No, ma'am.
So it's not a hard and fast rule कि आपको 5 साल वहीं से निकालना है. Another very important thing जो ज़्यादा लोगों को नहीं पता है वो ये है कि जब आप IPMAT का के थ्रू IIM इंदौर में एडमिशन होते, you get a BA degree, not a BBA degree. That's again a very common myth. आपको BA in business management मिलता है, which is equivalent to BBA only. लेकिन it is not officially a BBA degree. आपको BA degree ही मिलती है, which is considered generally equal to BBA, right?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ. और एक और कॉमन चीज मैंने सुनी है, because people are not really aware, ठीक है, they depend on what they've heard from someone. Nobody actually cares to go online and search for these things. तो एक बहुत कॉमन चीज ये है जो लोगों को लगता है कि IPMAT के थ्रू या JIPMAT के थ्रू या IPM में आपको एक डिप्लोमा डिग्री मिलते हैं. IIMs are not eligible to give you proper degrees like you would get it from Punjab University or Delhi University. It used to be true, लेकिन अभी रिसेंटली आई थिंक 2017 में एक IPM एक्ट आया था, सॉरी IIM एक्ट आया था, इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट एक्ट आया था, जिसके बाद इवन द IIMs आर एलिजिबल टू गिव यू ऑफिशियल डिग्रीज फॉर ग्रेजुएशन. तो जो आपको डिग्री मिल रही है बिल्कुल सही है, इट्स नॉट अ डिप्लोमा डिग्री that you are getting, right Arpit?
Yes, ma'am. From Jammu, you get some kind of diploma. If you in Jammu, there's the option to opt out after 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years.
Right.
After 1 year of your BBA, you can opt out, and they will award you with some sort of diploma. After second year, you can opt out, and they will
Yeah,
award you with some kind of diploma. In Jammu, there's still the case.
but that's optional. Compulsory
Yes,
नहीं.
ma'am.
अगर आप
That's not compulsory,
डिग्री
ma'am.
मिलेगी. Right. That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely true. That is how it works. Also, मैंने कहीं पे सुना था, somebody was telling me that you are eligible to get sabbatical. कि एक साल आपने पढ़ाई करी, फिर आप सोचोगे अरे नहीं, मैं 2-3 साल थोड़ा कुछ और करके then I can resume. Yes, in certain IIMs it is there, but not in all the IIMs. So you need to be very clear. You need to be very sure कि कौन-कौन से IIMs आपको वो sabbatical का option देते हैं, वो leave का option देते हैं, और कौन-कौन से नहीं देते. I think IIM Indore does that. I'm not really sure about other IIMs. IIM Indore, I'm sure it does that. Right. ठीक है. So we were talking about deciding whether you want to do self-prep or you want to take coaching. So the first thing that you decide, जब आपने आज सोच लिया कि हाँ जी मैं एक तैयारी करनी है, the first decision that you need to take is to decide कि मुझे कैसे तैयारी करनी है. Right, Arpit? Because I feel you're very
Yes, ma'am.
limited amount of time. आपके पास वही 5 से 6 महीने हैं, लेकिन आप फर्स्ट टाइम में हो, आपके फेब में
Yes,
बोर्ड
ma'am.
है, मार्च में बोर्ड हो रहे हैं, जून जुलाई में पेपर हो जाता है, वो मुश्किल से 3-4 महीने आपके पास प्रिपरेशन के लिए है ना.
Yes,
तो
ma'am.
अगर आप ये सिटिंग एंड थिंकिंग की मैं कोचिंग की मैं सेल्फ प्रेप करूं, you're going to waste your time. So be very clear what you want to do. Either of these options can work out. ऐसा नहीं है कि हाँ जी 100% लोग जो कोचिंग लेते हैं उन्हें कहीं क्वालिफाई होते तो people
Yes, ma'am.
It depends on you. If you're somebody who's
Absolutely, ma'am.
हाँ, so if you're somebody who's very patient, जिसको लगता है कि अरे मैं I can chill and I can look on YouTube videos and I can fetch content from different places, then you should go for self-study most definitely. But आपको लगता है if you want everything to be served to you in a proper manner, then you should definitely go for coaching, right Arpit?
Yes, ma'am. You need to decide your priorities, that whether you can study yourself or you need a mentor, you need a guide, or you need to someone to push yourself
Right.
at study. Yes.
And this decision varies from person to person. जरूरी नहीं है कि हर एक के लिए सेम चीज ही वर्क आउट करे. Okay, great. So now let's talk about, as I told you, we are time bound. Hर section में you have certain timing जिसके अंदर आपको पेपर खत्म करना होता है. So
Yes, ma'am.
Arpit, how did you practice time management while your preparation for IPMAT?
So for IPMAT Rohtak, ma'am, there is no such sectional time limit. It's only the time limit for the whole exam. Means you
Okay.
have to finish the whole exam in a stipulated time.
Hmm.
So you can manage your sections for say you are weak in maths, so you
Hmm.
can devote more time to that. And if you're good in reasoning, you
Hmm.
can devote less time to that, and thus the time gets managed. But for IPMAT indoor, it's very difficult to manage because the sums for maths are quite lengthy, and you've got 40 minutes for each section to do. You have
Right.
to manage that, and you have to see that, for example, maths is lengthy, maths is difficult, so you need to how do your calculations. You need to see that you are quite proficient in that, and you can solve the questions fast.
Right. So sectional timing can be good for some people and can be stress for some people. वो ऐसे है कि अगर आपके पास सेक्शन टाइमिंग है तो आपको ऑलरेडी पता है कि ठीक है मुझे इतना इतना टाइम है सेक्शन में लगाना सो यू कैन वर्क अकॉर्डिंगली. बट अगर आपको खुला टाइम दिया 120 minutes फॉर 3 sections you need to be then very attentive. बहुत ध्यान रखना कि ठीक है मुझे ये टाइम एक्सीड नहीं करना. So it can be challenging either ways. So how did you practice? Like did you appear for? How did you do that? Please give us certain tips.
Ma'am, I first of all I tried to do mock tests and with a timer so that I could get that yes, this section for me it's time consuming, and in this section I'm taking lesser time. So for further preparations, I would devote less time to the subject that I do faster,
Mm-hmm.
and I would practice more on the subject that was time consuming for me.
Mm-hmm.
So up to the time of the exams, I was able to do every section within the time limit. You need to decide that this section is weaker for you, and you need to prepare, you need to continuously learn and revise so that your concepts are clearer and clearer and you take lesser time.
That's a very useful tip. Another thing that I feel a lot of people might find challenging, especially at an undergraduate level, is negative marking. Like, अगर आप गलत आंसर दे रहे हो, you are going to lose marks, right? So, how did you work on the negative marking aspect?
But negative marking is definitely a challenge, ma'am. For me, it was also quite frustrating that why can't I guess answer?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guess किया और सही है तो marks मिलने चाहिए, नहीं मिला तो काट लो. Means you should not do negative marking.
Right,
That's the case. But if it's the case, it's for everyone. It's not just for me. So it's a
right,
disadvantage for everyone.
right. So,
So
for
you should
yeah, please continue. I'm sorry.
you should try to answer only that questions which you're absolutely sure are correct. That you
Mm-hmm.
know that this is absolutely correct. No one can make it wrong. So firstly, you need to attempt those questions,
Right,
and then you can devote your time to those difficult questions which you think that you can do,
right,
and try to get answers from that. And you need to leave the questions that you think are unsolvable for you. When
right.
you find that this question I can't do it, so just leave it, because it would be better if you try to do some questions that you can do instead of spending most of your time on the question that you don't know. It would
Right.
both save time and prevent negative marking.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not marking is better than marking the answer wrong. So
Right, that's a good tip. Also, I think this understanding comes from self-awareness, from knowing about your strengths and weaknesses. कि आप किस टॉपिक में अच्छे हैं, किस टॉपिक में बुरे हैं, right? So how can you come to know about these strengths and weaknesses according to you?
ma'am, you need to divide each subject into different topics. For
Okay.
example, I'll divide maths into profit and loss, percentages, speed
Mm-hmm.
and distance, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll solve questions separately for each of those sections, and I will check that this section is strong, that I can easily solve questions from this section, and this that the other section is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing you can do is either you can make your sections which are already strong even stronger, or
Mm-hmm.
the sections which you lack at to average level, so that you can attempt those questions. So
Right.
both these strategies are equally strong. That gives you an edge to
Right.
solve questions in the exam.
Absolutely right. And I think to adding to what you have said, Arpit, is I think mocks also are very useful in that. If you're appearing for multiple mocks, and I mean, I was about to talk about mocks itself because I need as many people to justify for it as much possible because people have this myth. I have seen students starting appearing for mocks 1 week or 2 weeks prior to their exam, which is a very wrong approach. You need to start appearing for your mocks, and I say every time from the first week that you have started your preparations. Right? You need to be very aware about it, and not just appear for one mock, but have multiple mocks that you can appear for. Right?
Yes.
So, what I used to suggest students is that they should keep their weekends for mocks, that is Saturdays and Sundays for mocks, right? And not just give mocks but analyze them as well to know कौन सा टॉपिक वो continuously गलत कर रहे हैं, कौन से टॉपिक को वो continuously सही कर रहे हैं. So what are your views about appearing for mocks?
Mocks, they are, I guess, you can the best preparation technique before the exam. You need
Okay.
to start giving mocks. You should get some time before the exam to start giving the mocks. Maybe 3 months, 4 months, whatever you can spare. And mocks give a fair view that these topics are strong, these topics are weak, what topics you need to work on. And the section, you can know about your sectional strengths, that this section is stronger, this section consumes time. And further, if you do multiple mocks, for example, you score good in one mock, it may be because it contains the topic that you are strong in, but it's not the case that in the actual exam you will only come across the topics that you know. So multiple mocks give you an idea that this kind of questions can also come and that kind of questions can also come.
Absolutely correct.
It basically prepares you for the real world challenge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I feel आधे लोग mocks देने में तो डर लगता है कि कहीं सच्चाई ना पता चल जाए कि मैं कहाँ where I stand. And that reality check is very, very important, you know.
Yes, ma'am. Reality check is
और
very important.
mocks से ही मिलता है. चलो, now let's come to the point कि ठीक है आपने IPMAT का aptitude exam clear कर दिया. Now let's talk about the what follows after it. You have a PI round that is followed
Yes,
after it.
ma'am.
You have a VAT also.
No, ma'am, that is not for IPMAT. It's for SET. I had VAT for SET, but not for IPMAT.
VAT is writing ability test, which is followed by, I think in CAT you do have that. IPMAT, IPM, as we said, you do not have a VAT round. You directly have an interview. So when you appeared for your interview for Rohtak, was it your first interview in your entire life?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, it was my first real interview. I had prior mock interviews, but it was my first real interview, and I was quite nervous. How would I do? How would I look? What would be my impression? And
Right.
so on. Would the panelists be strict or would they be lenient?
Right. तो ये तो हो गया जो आपने सोचा था. You thought about, obviously everybody thinks of the worst case scenario कि यार ये सबसे मुश्किल क्वेश्चन मुझसे पूछेंगे, यार मेरे ही रैंक में कंप्लीट नहीं होगा, अरे मेरे ही पैनल वाले खुश हो गए. This is the general thing that you have. So when you did a peer for PI, तो क्या मिला आपको? This is what you thought. How was the reality?
The teachers were, and the panelists were pretty nice. They asked simple questions. They asked for my preferences and asked the questions accordingly. My experience was overall nice because, for the written exam, I prepared other topics. It was maths, it was reasoning, it was English. But for the PI, the topics are very different. They're the topics from class plus two. It's the general knowledge and so on. So you need to prepare differently for the PI.
So any tips that you want to give to the people who would be appearing for their PIs this year?
Yes, ma'am. A necessary tip would be they will surely ask you current affairs. So you must know the current affairs and the facts about your city, about your state. I mean, it's highly probable that they'll ask that. You need to know about the major national issues and international issues.
Right.
Fair grip on static GK. That'd be nice. And they tend to ask that what's your favorite subject. So you need to be prepared to answer that what's your favorite subject. And you need to be absolutely sure that if they ask any question from that subject, you can easily answer that. So
That's absolutely
you need to
correct.
prepare.
That's absolutely correct. Also, what's important is जो भी आप बोल रहे हो या जो भी आपने अपने रेज्यूमे में देखा, you should be very thorough about it. Let me give a quick example. For example, आपने बोला कि my hobby is I like playing cricket. ठीक है, you said मुझे cricket खेलना पसंद है. You're doing it my hobbies. They will ask you A to Z, top to bottom about cricket. कि कितने tournaments होते हैं, what are the basic rules, कितने एक टीम में कितने members होते हैं, who is the best team in the world about for cricket, किस country का national game है cricket, and all these questions, right? So just at times it does happen कि हम कोई answer देते हैं just to show off कि हाँ, I'm cool, or this is how it is, this is how it is supposed to be, but you need to be very clear. So they are बोल रहे, you should be very thorough about it.
And they check the reality, even if you say something that, for example, you say, I'm good at this sports. So they'll ask, show us the certificate, show us the medals. They'll ask you about theoretical knowledge about it.
Yeah.
So you can't just speak in the air that, yes, that's the case, because they'll verify it. Yes.
Right. Okay, so Arpit, at any point did it happen कि panel वालों ने या interviewers they asked you a question और आपको answer नहीं पता था?
Yes, ma'am, it happened, but at that time, the most important thing is don't get panic. You just
Right,
simply need to tell them that you don't know the answer.
right,
Because if you will pretend to answer, or if you will beat around the bush, they'll know that you don't know the answer, and they'll eventually interrupt you that you probably should keep quiet or you should don't answer because
right,
you clearly don't know the answer. So you should admit that you don't know, and they'll appraise it.
right, right. They would appreciate your honesty because even they know कि आपका पहला interview है life का, right? So they know that you're nervous, they know that you're a newbie, but you don't have to show it in your face. You have to show कि अरे मैं तो बहुत डरा हुआ हूँ, अरे I'm very nervous, you have to be very confident. So even if you don't know an answer, be very, like he said, be very decent about it. He said, "Sir, I don't know, ma'am, I don't know." And just go on. And families are actually not that strict.
Strict, yes,
They
yes.
might look very as a producer, but they're very nice. That
No,
they
ma'am. They know, ma'am, that every person can't know everything. There
right,
out to be some topics that they don't know. So if they admit it, they feel actually nice that the person has actually admitted that he doesn't have the knowledge of the thing.
right, right. Okay, so Arpit, now that you are in IIM Rohtak, where are you residing in IIM Rohtak? Are you in the campus or do you live outside
Ma'am, IPMAT is a fully residential program. It's
somewhere?
not your choice whether to stay in the hostel or out of the campus. You have to be in the campus.
Okay, okay. So you must be in a hostel right now, right? Not
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now, as in like right now generally. So how
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the hostel life?
Hostel life actually, ma'am, for my friends, it's been pretty messy for the initial time. I have been in hostel for 3 years.
Okay.
So, yes, I told you I went to the boys' hostel. Uh,
Right.
So it was nothing new for me. I was happy that I'm going back to the original place and I'll have fun with the boys, and
Oh,
that was
COVID,
the thing.
you finally get COVID, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And but yes, my friends were quite frustrated that what is this? What's the food? What's the schedule? The rooms are not good. The washrooms are not good. But
स्पेशली
eventually,
जो पहली बार रह रहे हैं उनका ज्यादा होता है ना
yes, ma'am. They tend to cry like little babies, but
तो
eventually, eventually with time, they learn, they develop, and now it's their home. They love it.
होम कहते नो कि यू हैव टू कोप अप विद दिस फुली दे डोंट हैव अ चॉइस बाहर तुम जा
Yes,
नहीं
ma'am.
सकते अंदर तो मेरा नहीं पड़ेगा
Mm.
right, right. No, but it's good. Yeah, that's good that it is a fully residential thing. It's really nice. I mean, you get to live a residential life. It's really good. I mean, especially with the people who नहीं रहे हैं किसी हॉस्टल में, you must stay in a hostel. चाहे एक साल के लिए रहो पर रहना जरूरी है. You get so many experiences. You make so many memories living in a hostel.
It's an example of management by management institution that
Uh-huh.
every student is staying on the campus. Group activities are easily done,
Right,
and coordination is easier.
right,
So
right.
yes, that's the thing.
Managers when you interact. Okay, so what is the current schedule? I know now you're on vacation at it, but back when you will be back to the campus, what does your day look like?
And the schedule actually is very hectic. So you have to wake up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. You
Okay,
have to attend the daily yoga sessions because they are necessary.
okay,
If you don't attend, they will not allow you your day out on Sunday. They'll impose you with fines and so on.
okay,
So attending yoga is compulsory. And
right,
after that, you need to go to the mess. The mess time is from 8 to 9.
okay,
And after that, you can bath, you know, and
right.
everything, get ready for the college. And the
Mm,
college begins at 10:20.
mm,
So there are 4 periods in the day.
mm,
They can vary from 1 to 4. There 1 period, 2 period, 3 periods, 4 periods, so on. And the classes get over at 5:30.
right,
After 5:30, we get our refreshments and get back to the hostels by 6:30.
okay,
So there's some relaxation time. We sit, we relax, and after that there's dinner time from 8 to 9.
uh-huh,
And then 9:15 is the closure time that you can't get out of the hostel after 9:15.
okay,
And then we can do other things. We can study. We can talk to each other. We can have fun. The boys' hostel things.
right, right, right. That's great. That's great, Arpit. I hope you're enjoying your time at IIM Rohtak, right?
Yes,
It's
sort of.
everything that you dreamt of. Okay, right. So one important question I forgot to ask is, I think what was the family's reaction when they came to that you have gotten selected?
Actually, ma'am, they had planned many things for me that हमारा बच्चा सीए करेगा, हम सीए नहीं हुई तो बिजनेस में बैठ जाएगा, नहीं तो आईआईएम तो हो ही जाएगा. First of all, they were very happy that he cleared the exam, that we knew he prepared hard, that he would get into it. They were very happy. से जल्दी से सीट ले ले बस.
जल्दी से कंप्लीट कर अपनी मैनेजमेंट करा के फैमिली बिजनेस संभाल. हाँ.
No, ma'am, no, there is no imposition like that. I'm free to do anything.
Okay.
But they
So
were just opening options for me that you can do this, you can do that.
yeah. No, but I feel this Bollywood में ये nepotism is the same way when you are from a business house. It is a bit of nepotism. आपको पता है कैसे क्या होता है. There's somebody
Yes,
who's
ma'am.
not from a business background and has to do a startup or has to do some business. He has to start from scratch. But जो जिनके family में already business उनको पता है कैसे क्या होता है. You always have somebody to take guidance.
Absolutely, ma'am. We are good at employee management, production, everything.
Right, right. So, what are your future plans now? Let's say 5 years from now, what do you see yourself doing?
I'm planning to improve my CV, do practical courses because the marks from the BBA don't matter actually because you need to hone yourself with different skills. You need to possess yourself so that the companies and the other placement offices find
Right,
interesting that yes, this is the person we are looking for.
right.
So I'm now trying to develop different skills. I'm trying to learn different courses,
Mm-hmm.
practical internships, and so on, so that I'll be highly competitive when the time comes for placements. Currently, I've not planned that this is where I'll be working.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I'll make sure that I am quite able by that time.
That's great. That's great. So, I mean, there were times जब स्कोर के हिसाब से आपका career decide होता है. It's about skills now. It's all about what you
Mm.
do, how practically equipped you are. It all depends
Yes,
on
ma'am.
that, right? Chaliye, great. So we are almost towards the end of the session, Arpit. So
Mm.
lastly, any tips, anything that you want to tell to our aspirants, to our audience out there who will be appearing for 23 IPMAT, 23
Mm.
CPT, or the exams this year? Any message?
Yes, ma'am, I would just say that don't stress out and don't get panicked that exams are coming. We need to study and all. Spare some time for leisure, relax,
Mhm.
identify what topics are you strong at and what are you weak at. Work
Right,
at your weaknesses.
right.
Just you will crack it if you are dedicated enough.
Chalo, chalo, great, great. Thank you so much, Arpit, for taking out
Thank you,
time
ma'am.
to be with us today. I hope you enjoyed the session. Right.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me.
I had a great
Such
time
an
having
honor, ma'am.
discussions with you, like having a conversation with you. मुझे लगा ही मत pitching करा पर we're having a conversation, right? Okay. So all the people out there, guys, I hope you found today's session to be useful. I hope we were able to contribute something towards the preparation to give you a little bit more knowledge about what an IPM is, what the different entrances are for it. I hope that you make best use of this video, best use of the information that we are providing you, which you would not get decorated in a session anywhere else, right? So if you did like the session, please press the like button, subscribe to our channel so that you do not miss any update from Hitbullseye. And of course, sharing is caring. Share this video with your friends, with somebody who is an IPMAT aspirant, with somebody who wants to at some point in their life want to begin their own business, who want to get into business world. Help them help them understand about IPMAT. I'll be back next week with yet another very interesting session of Big Bulki Pathshala. Till then, stay tuned and happy weekend. Bye bye.